A very good evening. You're with us here in Republic, and I'm Deepthi Sachdeva with you. Who's really behind these targeted killings that you're seeing in Kashmir? Are these targeted killings or not? Why is there still a section of Netas in the valley who believe that this has happened because of the abrogation of Article 370? What was the fault of those who lost their lives? Just the fact that they stood with the tricolour? Why today you have the rights lobby completely silent on what has happened so far? This, as the agencies now have been quick to act, 4 key arrests have been made in the case so far, and there is once again, a direct Pakistan link to these killings. We first bring together all the important developments on the story, and then we debate.
Justice!
Their anger is palpable.
What demands is simple कि जो अभी कश्मीर में हालात बने हुए हैं वो रीमाइग्रेशन की ओर इशारा सिंपली कर रहे हैं कि माइनॉरिटीज कम्युनिटी को फिर से थ्रेटन किया जा रहा है और चाहे माइनॉरिटीज नॉन माइग्रेंट कश्मीरी पंडित नॉन माइग्रेंट कश्मीरी सिख्स होए उन सबको सिक्योरिटी नहीं प्रोवाइड हो जा रही है और वो इनसिक्योर फील कर रहे हैं वहाँ पे।
Kashmiri Pandits have hit the streets after recent targeted killings in the valley.
हमारे 80% लोग क्या बताएंगे बेचारे, उनका लिस्ट निकला है वहाँ पे किस किस को शूट करना है। ये दावे जितने भी कर रहे हैं ये ग्राउंड लेवल पे कुछ भी नहीं है, जीरो है।
The recent killings of those from the minority communities in Kashmir has triggered NIA to swoop down and conduct raids across 16 locations. Three people have been arrested so far.
In the morning, 3 people have so far been arrested, and the process for more arrests, the procedure is still underway. So we can expect more arrests in this case, where more than 15 locations were raided by the sleuths of National Investigation Agency in the 4 districts of Srinagar, Baramulla, Kulgam and Anantnag. And important to mention that the case hasn't been officially handed over to the National Investigation Agency, but they are conducting a parallel investigation in the case along with the other cases.
But despite the situation, some politicians seem to be oblivious to people's pain. Watch how a Congress leader is taking a pro-terror stand.
मिnority community है मुसलमान, वो हिल गए हैं अंदर से और यहाँ जो इस वक्त लोग हैं तो ये तो 95% तो मुसलमान हैं यहाँ बैठे हुए। यहाँ के मुसलमान जो हैं दुखी हैं कि ऐसा सोचा जा रहा है कि मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी से ही किसी ने मारा है, जिन बच्चों के पास बंदूक है। लेकिन हकीकत यह है कि उन बच्चों को भी कुछ कहना है, उनकी बात सुनी जानी चाहिए। ऐसा माहौल बनना चाहिए कि हम जिसके हाथ में बंदूक है उससे पूछें क्या आप सोचते हैं, ताकि उसके दिमाग की चीज़ जो है वो दूर हो जाए। और सब चीज़ का इलाज है डायलॉग। यहाँ आर्मी है, पैरा फोर्सेस है, लेकिन उनकी वजह से कुछ नहीं होगा। होगा तब जब मोदी जी और उसके जो साथी हैं उनको समझ आएगा।
A comment that has triggered a massive controversy nationally.
And what is shocking is the attitude and response of their leaders at the center. So Congress has been pro-Pakistan, and this is very visible and vociferously seen in Kashmir.
Are political parties mocking those who have been selectively targeted by terrorists on the basis of their religion? Should central government do more to allay the fears of the minorities in Kashmir? And why are those who cry human rights violations silent on the targeted killings? Bureau Report, Republic TV.
So now we do know that there is a direct Pakistan link to these targeted killings. Tom Varakan is a senior leader and spokesperson of the BJP, and I think he'll be up on our screens in just a bit. Lalit Ambardar is a Kashmiri activist. Brigadier Anil Gupta Saab is a defense expert on the broadcast from Jammu. Majid Haidari is a journalist joining us from Srinagar. Sayyid Fazal Kashani is a spokesperson of the Jammu and Kashmir Apni Party. Ashutosh Mishra is a senior journalist. I want to get in first Majid Haidari, and then I'll get Tom to respond to him. Majid Haidari, let's have Majid Haidari on the screen if possible, please. Majid, Do you agree that these are targeted killings?
Well, it's not supposed to be an agreement on whether these are targeted killings or non-targeted killings. The point is that in 7 days, 7 civilians have lost their lives, which in other terms means that BJP's iron fist policy on Kashmir has failed and there's a need to reconsider. And if dialogue can fetch results, dialogue can save people's lives, why shouldn't we opt for dialogue? We have seen that iron fist policy has entirely failed. There's a total collapse of that policy. So let's look at the alternatives which people are talking about. And nowhere in the Constitution of India, the Constitution of India nowhere says that there is a ban on seeking dialogue on Kashmir issue or with regard to what's happening in Kashmir. It's neither a crime nor an offense. So we need to encourage these things. And we traditionally in India believe in Tark Shastra. What is Tark Shastra? Tark Shastra means debate and dialogue. So why not to start the solution for this bloodshed in Kashmir through dialogue? There is a need and we should opt for it. Nothing more to say on this. Yes, because we are losing civilian lives. One of those who lost their lives in Kashmir was Virendra Paswan from Bihar. And let me tell your viewers that J&K government did not flew his body to Bihar. He was cremated by locals in Kashmir because government had no money to send him to Bihar as mortal remains. This is shame on the government, the JK government for that.
Majid.
And then we blame some Kashmiri people over it. You should first blame the JK government, the government run by Manoj Sinha Sahab. Yes.
Majid, if you're done. Majid, if you're done, and before I let Tom actually come in here, I have a few questions for you, and then we'll open this up. Majid, first up, tell me, what passport do you hold? Is it the Indian passport?
Madam, has Republic Channel invited me as an Indian citizen? This is my counter question to you.
Are you an Indian citizen or not? Or you feel ashamed to say that you're an Indian citizen, Majid?
No, have you invited me as being an Indian citizen or an alien? You firstly decided. Why should I comment?
Majid, I will ask you questions. If you don't have an answer, you please be open about it. Tell me simply, does your heart actually beat for India or your heart beats for those that you want us to have a dialogue with? And who really are these people you want to have a dialogue with? Who are these people, Majid?
These are the people who have some issues and government needs to address them. Because we at the moment are losing lives and our concern should be how to save the human lives. Not to talk about the iron fist policy which has failed after 2 years of this guinea pig kind of a test on Kashmir. We need to talk about that how to save the lives.
Majid, you're obfuscating the entire issue. I asked you such a pointed question whether you believe that these are targeted killings of non-Muslims or not. You do not believe that you should answer that question. I asked you whether you hold an Indian passport. You again obfuscate that question. I asked him, Tom, that who should we be talking to? He is not able to tell us that he wants us to talk to people in Pakistan, the same people, Tom, and the same rogue state that has killed innocent people here. But you still have people like Majid Hydari, Tom, whose heart only and only bleeds for people across the border, but definitely not for us in India. Tom Varakar.
Deepika, I'm an Indian citizen and I'm a proud Indian citizen. If anybody on your panel says that he's hiding the fact that he's an Indian citizen, and well, it is a questionable fact that he's there on the panel and is talking to whom? The question is relevant. Pakistan or your mainstream parties, or like Mr. So said, talk to the bache, that bache with the gun. When did we start talking to terrorists who are killing people point blank? And then you come on national television as an advisory that 370 has failed and that you can do target killing. But believe me, if you want bullets, then, well, the bullets will answer. But let me tell you one thing very fundamental. India is for peace. Jammu and Kashmir is a sovereign part of India. Let there be no doubts about it. And if you think you can shoot and kill minorities, you are strongly mistaken. That situation will come when you will get haunted out, because this is not a solution. This is not a civilized solution. You have killed 7 people. And that too at short range. If you do this and you think the country is going to be quiet about this, I think you're mistaken. Our patriotism, our love and affection for the people of Kashmir and Kashmiriyat is strong. You may use bullets, AK-47 sent to you by neighbors, but believe me, the world, the nation is behind the Indian Prime Minister, the Home Minister, who's trying to get peace in that region. And they're doing everything possible. And let there be no mistakes that we are not threatened by your bullets.
Okay. Tom, they're responding to Majid. But, Majid, I sincerely believe that the very moment, you have a problem sitting on television and saying that, yes, you have an Indian passport, that does make us ask the question, why are you so uncomfortable saying that when you do hold an Indian passport? Majid, think about that. I want to get in both Lalit and Syed Fazal Kashani, then Ashutosh and Brigadier Anil Gupta Saab also. Syed Fazal, you are the spokesperson for the Jammu and Kashmir Apni Party. Do you believe, Syed, that the Kashmiri Pandits are being targeted?
For the targeted killings, I think there is an element who are trying to create a divide between the two communities, but there is no second thought about it that we are one. There are no rifts, no gaps between the communities. Talking about the overall civilian killings, there have been 28 civilian killings in this year, out of which 7 are from the minority, whereas 21 are from the majority Muslim community. So, trying to give it a religious color, I don't think it is appropriate. Secondly, I want to ask a very important question to Mr. Tom, that the safer state that was promised to us, a common Kashmiri is still looking for it. Secondly, our party is still in grief and shock over these killings, the recent killings that have happened of Mr. Bindru or Mrs. Kaur. We are the only party in Jammu and Kashmir who have passed unanimous resolution against these killings. So talking about the killings, we feel sorry, we are ashamed that these killings have happened, but we have a strong belief, our party has a strong belief that we stand against any form of terrorism, we stand against any form of violence. That is our party stand. But I would like Mr. Tom to respond to this question, that the safer state that was promised to us, a common Kashmiri is still looking for it.
But Syed, I second that sentiment that, everyone should feel very safe and secure in the country. But I want to understand from you before I throw this to both Tom and also to Lalit, and then Ashutosh will also come in. But Syed, tell me something, who's to be blamed for this? Who's to be blamed for what's going on? And why is there so much of discomfort about the fact that, yes, these are targeted killings, non-Muslims are being targeted in the valley? Isn't that a reality, Syed?
That's what I'm saying, ma'am. Out of 28 killings, 7 are from the minority, 21 are from the Muslim community. So right now, the recent killings definitely have happened from the minority to create a gap between two communities. But we have conveyed a very clear and strong message from our party as well as the recent
who wants to create that communal divide
by the Sikh Coordination Committee, that there is no rift between the communities. Every single Kashmiri feels pain against these killings. Every single Kashmiri has condemned these killings. So there is no second doubt that Kashmiris are against these killings.
No, but condemnation, Ashutosh, is clearly not good enough, Ashutosh. We've heard condemnation, but in the same vein, you have, netas like a Saifuddin Source, people like a Mehbooba Mufti. A Mehbooba Mufti says, and she has spoken against the tricolour again and again, and she said, this is not my tricolour, Ashutosh. If we can also have him on the screen now. So who's to be blamed, Ashutosh, for creating such a situation today in the valley?
So it is one gentleman called Narendra Modi who has been hoisted on his own petard. I mean, all his underhand tactics that he has employed, right from forming the coalition government with Mehbooba Mufti to visiting Nawaz Sharif uninvited, and recently in this year, India allowed Imran Khan to fly over its airspace when Pakistan did not allow our president and Mr. Narendra Modi to fly over Pakistan. So who is to blame? It's Mr. Narendra Modi. Because all the gimmicks have failed. Because all his gimmicks, whether it be abrogation of Article 370, then there being employing army, cutting off the opposition leaders from visiting the state, taking those guided tours of European MPs, and now innocent civilians are being sacrificed on the altar of his duplicity. That's what's exactly happening. We have to realize that there are no shortcuts. And here we are seeing a man who seems to be in a hurry. To top it, he seems to suffer from attention deficit syndrome. I mean, we have a home minister who hasn't visited Kashmir after June 2019. He's the man who was leading this abrogation of 370. Shouldn't he have gone there? He hasn't visited yet. Let's see when he goes there. We have to take a holistic view. We have to listen to what the army is saying. What did our army chief say? That now, once Taliban settles in Afghanistan, they are going to create problems in Kashmir. We knew that from earlier. So there seems to be a problem in the government because the army chief knows it. There are reports that the security agencies were aware that something like this, targeted killings, are going to happen, and they have been caught unawares. Why is it that our security agencies are caught unaware, whether it be the Pulwama attack or the killings of these poor innocent Kashmiri Pandits? It's the government has to answer these questions.
Ashutosh, I was actually waiting for you to say the P word. Brigadier Gupta, the P word, that is Pakistan. In your entire diatribe that you have thrown out today, and it's fine, you're a political analyst, you have all the rights to question the government and power of the day, and we must rightly do that. But are you forgetting what happens from across the border, Ashutosh? And not a word about Netas, not a word about Netas like Mehbooba Mufti, like a Saifuddin Soz, who have been stoking this violence. Ashutosh?
Pakistan is our enemy. So Deepthi, Pakistan is our enemy. That nation was created because its residents could not live with Indians. And so we have neighbors. This is a historical and geographical compulsion that we will have Pakistan, who is inimical towards our interests, with us.
What about today then, Ashutosh? No, Ashutosh, I think we must not obfuscate this. We must call a spade a spade. We must call a spade a spade. And Brigadier Gupta, just give me 10 more seconds, sir, because I want to show Ashutosh the mirror. What about Netas like Saifuddin Soz? It's fine, you don't want to talk about a Mehbooba Mufti who had said कि हम किसी और के झंडे के नीचे नहीं खड़े होंगे. And she meant the Indian tricolor when she said that, Ashutosh. But what about Netas like Saifuddin Soz, who says ये बच्चे हैं जिनके हाथों में बंदूकें हैं, उनसे बातें करनी चाहिए, Ashutosh?
So, if you can talk to what he is not talking about, the Pakistanis. He is talking about the youth of Kashmir who are being misled by these people who have taken up arms. And if you can talk to people in Nagaland, why can't you talk to people in Kashmir? Our lives in Nagaland,
Ashutosh, you seriously are not wanting to look at the nuances. So I'll let Brigadier Gupta come in here, who does hold a holistic view about the situation. Brigadier Saab, why don't you enlighten gentlemen like Ashutosh and tell him, why talking to people who hold the gun today is not a solution that the country can deal with any longer. We've had enough of these talks and we've seen nothing moving.
Understand that this problem in Kashmir today has two factors, the external and the internal.
Pakistan, no doubt, is involved. Pakistan is hands in glove. Pakistan is the one which is monitoring and which is executing and which is ordering all these killings. There's no doubt. But then there's the internal factor also. People like Soj, people like Mehbooba Mufti, they are of the school of thought. The seed from which was sown somewhere in 1931. If you remember, in July 1931, there was a call for Kashmir as an independent Muslim nation. and Maharaja was told to leave Kashmir because he was a kafir, and how could he rule the Muslims? And then it was said, use stones, use lathis, use anything, but throw him out. This is the legacy which is being carried forward by people like Soj. If you recall, in 2018, he had come out with a book and he had endorsed Pervez Musharraf's remark that Kashmiris would prefer to be with Pakistan than India. He also later said that Sardar Patel had almost given Kashmir to Pakistan in exchange of Hyderabad. So these are the people who have been thinking of an independent Muslim Kashmir. And that is what is being done now. You see, the non-Muslims are being targeted. Muslims are also being targeted. I agree with the Apni Party spokesperson, but then his figures don't speak for itself. He says 21 Muslims have been killed. I agree with him. But out of those 21 Muslims, 14 were BJP workers. 3 of them were considered as RSS sympathizers, and the others were called the army's informers. So what is it? The nationalists are being targeted. In Kashmir today, the nationalists are being targeted, and nationalists are, who are being considered nationalists? Those who raise the national flag, those who join the BJP, those who talk of democracy, they are being termed as nationalists, and they are being targeted. So this is the problem in Kashmir, and that is what is happening. Now, some people are talking of return to 90. It's not return to 90. See, in 90, the aim was entirely different. It was ethnic cleansing. And today the aim is just opposite of that. They do not want the Hindus or the Kashmiri Pandits or the minority to come back. So, tool being used the same, terrorism. But intensity is entirely different. In 90s, the intensity was so much that the streets of Kashmir were vibrating with slogans like leave Kashmir, Kashmir only for us, Kashmir for Muslims, Hindus go back, Kashmiri Pandits go back, leave your women, and all these type of questions. Today, they are targeted killings. And who are being targeted? As I mentioned, the nationalists. The nationalist voices in Kashmir, they are being silenced. And behind this are the mainstream leaders, so-called mainstream leaders, people like Soj, people like Mohammed Mufti, even Dr. Farooq Abdullah. I have a video of his where he has said that we will see that Hindus are not brought back to change the demography of Kashmir, and we will never allow that to happen. So this is the mindset of these people. With this mindset, to say that these boys are not misguided. They are being guided by these people. They are being guided by these forces. They are the ones. The latest, the trigger is the order of the state government wherein they have said the Kashmiri Pandits can claim their lost properties. Yes. That is what is hurting them. These people who have grabbed the properties, who are sitting over the properties, they are not scared. So they are the ones who are using these boys. Who are these boys? They are mercenaries. They are being used by Pakistan. They are being used by Majid Hydari. They are being used by Soj. They are being used by Mehbooba Mufti. They are being used by Abdullahs.
But Brigadier Gupta, sir, before I get in both Lalit and Tom here, Majid, why should you allow yourself to be used as a pawn? I mean, why should you be speaking against India? I don't understand.
Humble submission is that why is our government allowing these killings to happen? Why have 28 civilians being allowed to get killed? Is it because of UP election? I want to know. The nation wants to know this. Because it's the responsibility of the government, not of Saifuddin Sos or Umar Abdullah or Mehbooba Mufti, to safeguard the lives of citizens of the country as of now.
No, that is dangerous. Now, Majid, that is dangerous. That is dangerous, Majid, because see, the fact is, you have an axe to grind. I understand. That is fine. But I should let Tom come in here before I go back to Lalit here, who has not spoken yet. Tom Barakan, I mean, why today? We've seen the similar pattern, Majid, again and again. Anything that the government does, you will say it's linked to the elections. Now, these are targeted killings happening. The police there, Majid is making it very clear that this has a direct Pakistan connection. So, Tom Barakan, how today can Majid Hydari say that all this is happening because of the UP elections?
Well, these are colored visions, you know. And this is what he comes on television to say killing is something to do with Uttar Pradesh election. But let me make it very candidly clear. We don't need to kill anybody to win any elections. The people of Uttar Pradesh will elect a government on a democratic process monitored by the Election Commission. So don't worry, Mr. Hydari, that there is no influencing. This is a country that believes in democracy. you can kill whatever you kill or whoever you kill. Remember this thing, in civil society, this is not acceptable. Globally, it is not acceptable. You kill people for property, petty interests. Just now it was mentioned that people sitting on property are mentoring this killing.
BJP minister's son is
followed
behind the
by
killings.
Pakistan.
I condemn
Followed
the
by
killings through
Pakistan.
gun. I condemn
Now,
the killings
the fact
through
of the
cars.
matter is, Pakistan funding mentored by the political parties that are there, and political analysis that you make is essentially based on the voice of Pakistan. I'm sorry, it's a sad day when you're not clear whether you are an Indian citizen. Be what it may, whatever citizen, you are a human being. And how dare you say that these killings are acceptable? Because by you doing lip service to this kind of killing, you are
He is not, you know, Tom, he's not even doing lip service. Forget anything else. Majid today is not even doing some basic lip service.
And that's precisely what I'm saying.
All the acts of terror
because this gentleman is not very clear on which side of the country he is, whether he is a Pakistani citizen, disguised as an Indian citizen, whatever be it. I think his bona fide must be checked before we get him into public domain.
Majid, what really is your real problem? What really is your real problem? Then I'll get in both Sayyad and we'll try to get Lalit. I think, Lalit, if you can hear me, Majid, before I come to you, Lalit, can you hear us? Yes, absolutely, Lalit. Yes.
Yeah, listen, there's a very... I've been able to connect with you. Listen, lot of things have been said, and I think it is a total absence of what India has on hand in Kashmir. We have just internalized it, confined it to Kashmir. I keep saying about it. Kashmir Jihad is not about just Kashmir. It's not a political problem. Whatever source may say, if he had so much of a concern for these bachas, why did he get his daughter released in exchange for terrorists? He should have spoken to those bachas, taken them and made them part of his family. This man, congressman, he is a sworn Pakistan apologist. He doesn't call Pakistan occupied Kashmir or Pakistan occupied Kashmir. He calls it Pakistan administered Kashmir. And his central leadership in Delhi never objected to it. It's just like another Mani Shankar Iyer, who's a Pak apologist, and his central leadership never takes care of it. So anyway, I don't care. He doesn't deserve that attention. He's an apologist. He's an Islamist, as are other mainstream so-called mainstream politicians of Kashmir, be it Abdullahs, be it Soos, be it Muftis. Now, the problem is about Kashmir Jihad. Somebody said just now, even Muslims have been killed. I salute those Muslims who have been killed. But remember, Muslims who are assassinated by these jihadists are not killed because they are Muslim. It's the other way around. They do not consider them to be Muslim enough because they have some connection with the rest of India. And as far as Hindus are concerned, Hindus have a double sword on them. They are kafir because they are Hindus and Sikhs, and then they also are supposed to be representing Indian ethos in Kashmir. That is the thing. Let me remind this Muslim panelists, I'm so sorry to say, but I must put it forward. When ISIS entered Iraq, there were some Sunni communities coming on the way. They welcomed these ISI goons, and only after 6 months...
This is definitely not about the religion, sir. This is about this. If it was about the religion, you wouldn't have seen the entire Kashmir right now with standing with these minority in times of the killings. Entire Kashmir has condemned it.
Remember, you're going to have Fidain attacks. You're going to have attacks in Jammu, God forbid, and in the rest of India. And these guys are going to be in denial. And remember, denial is also being collaborators. You are encouraging the jihadists. How do you explain Burhan Wani? His father says, headmaster father says, educated headmaster. He says,
I don't need a certificate from you.
Listen, you Muslims, you have to get down on your conscience.
This is not about the religion. This is definitely not about the religion.
If at all there is anybody misrepresenting your religion,
Kashmir Valley is standing with with the sticks.
Lalit, this is not a fight between us versus them. We are one, Lalit. We are one. We are one, and that is India. We will not get astray. We will not get provoked, Lalit. I understand and appreciate your sentiments, Lalit. But no, this is not the right way. I think this is not about us versus them, Lalit. Lalit, please bear with me. Lalit, please, I'm requesting you. We have a very bad audio line also with you. I do not want to lose your connection. I don't want to lose that connection, Lalit. But Syed Fazal, I think Syed Fazal, you must appreciate from where is Lalit coming today and why today is he so enraged. And Syed, there's a reason why he's saying that a lot of this has its genesis today in the sentiments that the pro-Pakistan netas have created in the valley. Syed.
What Mr. Lalit is trying to do will cost us more lives. This is not about
Syed, relax.
This is about
Syed, I just requested Lalit the same thing. This is not us versus them at all, Syed. Syed Fazal, why don't you answer my question? The point is that all this has its genesis in this kind of politics that you have been seeing by the so-called mainstream parties in the valley who actually tried to tell everyone that this is us versus them. They never believe in that one India notion.
No, there is no second thought, ma'am. There is no second thought about this. I mean, as far as my party is concerned, we have given this resolution that there is no divide between these communities. Every single Kashmiri is standing with Pandits right now. If you see every Kashmiri, including the Grand Mufti, every Kashmiri has condemned it. We are against any form of violence against Muslims or even Pandits and even sects. So there is no second doubt. But what Mr. Lalit Ambardar is trying to do is this will cost us more lives. He is trying to create a divide between communities. And I will not allow to do that.
No one is allowed to do that. No one is allowed to do that here. Yes, Brigadier Gupta, sir.
Please. Yeah, you see, I fully agree with Syed. It's not on communal lines. But then, I want to ask him, they all have condemned violence. They have condemned killings. But they have neither condemned the terrorists, nor they have condemned Pakistan. Why? That is where the doubt lies. Please condemn Pakistan. Please condemn the terrorists. Come out openly and say that you condemn the terrorists, you condemn terror, you condemn the use of violence, you condemn the use of terror as a tactic against the minorities. Say that. Most of the Kashmiris I've heard on the panelists, they are saying we are very unhappy, our hearts are bleeding, Kashmir is bleeding, Kashmir is weeping, Kashmir is crying, but nobody is openly criticizing or blaming Pakistan for this. Why not?
Sir, if you have not listened to the statement of our mayor, he has clearly mentioned it. There is no second thought. They shouldn't be called militants. They should be called terrorists. Our mayor has given this statement. Secondly, as far as my party is concerned, I am not the spokesperson of what National Conference or what PDP or what Mr. Soz says. But as far as my party is concerned, we have made it clear that we stand against any form of violence, be that in any way. So there is no ifs and buts about it. We
don't
are
condemn
against
violence,
these
condemn
terrorist acts.
Condemn Pakistan, condemn terrorists, do not condemn violence. Violence, everybody condemns. Majid Haidari, please come up. Majid Haidari, please come up and condemn Pakistan. मैं सब लैंग्वेज समझता हूँ मैं सब लैंग्वेज समझता हूँ
against the terrorist activities, we are against these killings. You
are against Pakistan.
Syed, I'm sure you, much like Majid Haidari, does understand what Brigadier Gupta Sahib is, alluding to. But Lalit, tell me something. Yes. I think we must look at a bigger picture here, Lalit, before I get in Tom here. But tell me something very clearly, Lalit. What are we looking at today? Is this really a redux of the 90s? Because this is what Brigadier Gupta was also mentioning a little earlier. You've been on the phone, you've been talking to a lot of Kashmiri Pandits there in the valley. We've seen a huge protest today in Jammu, Lalit. They are really scared.
First of all, with due regards to Brigadier Gupta, I think these are the kind of voices they are reaching Narendra Modi's office. These are misleading. And he says it's not a religious war. Yahan kya chalega nizam mein Mustafa? Mehbooba Mufti says, Abdullah says, we are a Muslim majority state. We want to maintain the Muslim majority character of Kashmir. Abdullah's MP in Lok Sabha from Baramulla, President Baramulla MP, he says in the J&K Legislature Assembly, Pakistan Zindabad, when reporters ask him outside, why did you do this? He says, I'm a Muslim, I got sentimental. मैं मुसलमान हूँ, भावुक हो गया. And Mehbooba Mufti's self-rule agenda envisages joint control of Pakistan over Kashmir, Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh. They want to remove IS and IPS from Kashmir. They want to have joint currency of Pakistan in Kashmir. And you want to say this is not a civilization war? Those jihadis are claiming why you are killing kafirs. They say we are killing them because they are Hindus and Sikhs. And you have the audacity to say, no. You are secular people. You are just killing for the sake of killing. We have a harmony. And this DGP of police, his job is to encourage his soldiers, his sipahi, who was doing a great job. Jammu Kashmir police has come a wrong way. They are in the forefront of war against Kashmir Jihad. And the head of that has to say, oh, these jihadis are these terrorists. He doesn't use even terrorists. These militants are trying to defame the Muslim community of Kashmir. Which Muslim community? Tell me how many Muslims have come on the street on the day the Sikh lady was taken for cremation? How many Muslims have come on the street when Mr. Bansilal Bindru, who has been serving these people for the past 40 years, who chose to stay back? They do not have courtesy to even join the cremation.
But Lalit, Lalit, I also want to say something. Lalit, I also want to say something. I have a lot of Kashmiri friends. I've spoken to them. I think ordinary people do not agree with that sentiment. There's a definite picture that you have netas like a Saifuddin Soz or Mehbooba Mufti want to promote. Lalit, I really appreciate where you're coming from and this anger. But Tom, I want to take one final word with Tom. The last word I want to give to Tom on the debate.
They did not come from
somewhere,
heaven.
Tom.
They did not come from sky.
Somewhere, Tom.
How did they vanish into earth? They live in neighborhoods.
Yes. Lalit, these are relevant questions. Let me put those questions to Tom today. Because he has to be asked that question. Tom, there are reports that there was very specific intel that Kashmiri Pandits will be targeted. But what did the center do? And tell me now today, Tom, how will you reassure these Kashmiri Pandits? All of them today are very scared.
Deepika, the reality is the government is walking that extra mile to ensure peace in the region, especially Jammu and Kashmir. We have a problem on hand. We have identified the problem. The Home Minister himself is directly monitoring the events there. And we believe that we will be able to get the culprits very soon. We have made some arrests, which is while we are talking, there has been further action in this line. And I do believe that Kashmiriyat will prevail. And whatever attempts that are being made by these hoodlums to create problems, we will deal with them. With the strength of the Kashmiriyat behind us, we will definitely win because justice is on our side and we will carry everybody together. But despite the three families who are creating and triggering all these problems, they are mentoring these activities.
We'll have to see that. Tom, because a lot of people today who were out in the streets protesting, I remember hearing them. They actually said the center has done nothing. Lalit really wants to come in. I'll give him the last 10 seconds only. Only Lalit, 10 seconds before we wrap.
I want to appeal to this government, India. You have pushed back Hindu boys and girls exploiting their economic deprivation to the very villages and towns from where their parents were hounded out to rape, murder and mass murder. This is reform. It's a crime. Please bring them back to Jammu. And today you close their camps. You put a lock outside so that you put them under curfew so that they don't flee to safety. Is this the government? Is this a concern for Indian citizens who have suffered genocide?
Lalit is really angry. Tom, I hope you are listening to many like him today who are not just fearful, who are scared and who are raging with anger. Only for want of time, gentlemen, I need to wrap this debate right now. But Republic will keep its viewers ahead on every development on that story. Thank you so much for your time.